right, guys, here we are, Ask an Innovator. We're back. We have an absolutely amazing guest today. It is going to blow your mind. If you have a pad and paper, get it out, because this is going to be another massive note-taking day. We're going to dive into entrepreneurship. Thunder Bay, unequaled, unique, ubiquitous. I got some U words here. Unrelenting, unanimous, and urgent. Scott McNab had some U words for me about doing business in Thunder Bay. This is one of the most inspiring entrepreneurs that we have in our city, well-rounded and truly innovative. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you, Cole.
All right, good man. So first question, we ask all our guests right out of the gate. Thunder Bay, glass half empty, glass half full. Are we going the right way? Are we going the wrong way? Is it easy to do business here? Is it hard to do business here? Glass half empty, glass half full.
It's a big question.
I know. It's kind of unfair.
I think the honest answer to that is really, where is your perspective, and what is your perspective of your day-to-day and your big picture and your end plan?
Right.
So Thunder Bay is a unique city, keeping in key with your U's.
Yeah.
It's unique in the sense that it's isolated and it's challenging to do anything here. You know, sometimes it's challenging to live here depending on the season in which we're here, right? Long winters, you know, long days in the summer. But it really is a question of where you want to end up and what your end game is. So if you can begin with the end in mind, then your glass should always be overflowing.
Right.
Because you marginalize yourself and you set yourself up to be always having a full glass.
Right.
There are times when life has its own plans, and you know, the world has its own plans for you or I. But really, you have to be able to keep your perspective moving. And my perspective is my most valuable asset. You have to guard your perspective and grow your perspective. So you're never underwater.
Wow.
You're always on the top looking down.
Your perspective is your most valuable asset. I love that.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's note-taking right there. You write that down. Your perspective is your most... So your perspective on Thunder Bay. You said something also kind of interesting in there that I loved, which is that I haven't had a lot of guests, a lot of entrepreneurs talk about, which is Thunder Bay being isolated. How does our isolation affect your business day to day?
I refer to Thunder Bay as the island of Thunder Bay.
Right,
That's often what I feel like. It seems like we're surrounded by water. We're along, you know, travel distance to other major centers, which means we, again, are unique in our import-export, you know, the profitability of, you know, materials in building and construction, and which is the bricks and mortar of every city.
Sure it is. And
So
this is a big part of your business
as
well.
It is, yes, yeah. We started many years ago in residential construction. We've, you know, built up to commercial and industrial construction. We build a lot of our own places and then hold them as key assets in a portfolio of you know, property development. That's where we come from. Thunder Bay is unique in that it has been sheltered from a lot of the outside influences because of its geographical location. It's managed to ride an economical wave where the rest of the country perhaps is in an ebb and flow. I find Thunder Bay often to be in a static state. It takes a lot of momentum and energy to move from that static state, whether it be on the positive or the negative.
Right. Interesting. I mean, let's stay with this kind of this isolation, this island of Thunder Bay, as you put it, idea. I've thought about it. I've never really heard anyone articulate it the way that you just have. The isolation, the fact that the closest real major center is an American city called Duluth. Otherwise, we have Sault Ste. Marie 8 hours away. We are an island. Is it more expensive, therefore, to do business in Thunder Bay?
I think it's relative. Your costs and your expenses are going to be isolated on the island. So it's only when you start comparing it to other provinces, other cities, that you realize there is a discrepancy in pricing. Right? So that can be used to our advantage or not. That's a marketing piece, and that's a bigger picture business question. But we certainly have disadvantages in the sense that, you know, we don't have the buying power, we don't have the volume with the population that we do compared to other major centers. But at the same time, we have the uniqueness of community. And community is where Thunder Bay, if you want to get things done, it's who you know.
Totally.
Right? And that's the horsepower, that's the energy, that's the connectivity, and the networking of a small, it is a small town, it's 100,000 people, but it sure feels like a small town.
It really does. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm still building on this. I mean, often with, you know, in the first segment, we kind of go on a whole different, lots of different directions. talking about the island of Thunder Bay still, I mean, I find this so amazing. So I heard two things again in hearing you speak. I heard economy of scale. So we talk about buying power essentially, and we kind of get that. We're 100,000 people and isolated. So as far as say raw materials and commodities coming in, there's really only so much that we can buy and therefore buy it for. I heard you speak indirectly almost about the barter system. Now, I've owned businesses in Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like in some days I could trade contra, call it,
Yep.
my way through my entire top line kind of revenue model. I'm getting stuff for stuff, but there's no cash.
Yeah. I find it, there's a certain piece of that, and the CRA frowns on that, a lot of that. So to try and keep it all above board, we really, what you have to do, what I find I do, is I leverage resources, I leverage knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
And in my day-to-day, I'm often trying to solve a problem. If you're not a problem solutions based company or person, then you might not appreciate that. But as you grow in business, it's who you know, and when you have a problem, it's who's in my phone, who's in my Rolodex, who's in my repertoire of people who would have an understanding or would know, like kind of third person distant, somebody in our region who would have a solution. And it's quite quick that way. And I think it's my personal goal to actually accelerate the speed of business. To take that concept and build it into a platform that can be accelerated even faster. So you can extend the speed of trust and the speed of communication in the way that our phones are working for us, in the way that the social media is working for us. But beyond social media, because that's really a face of it, is who's behind that and who's driving it and who's holding it up.
Wow, so many nuggets, business happening at the speed of trust. I mean, that's what business does happen at the speed, it performs at the speed of trust. And then the other thing I heard you say too, and I'm just kind of regurgitating all these nuggets that you're dropping right now, which is something I totally believe in as well, which is the solution lies within the problem. So, as what is an entrepreneur, would you say an entrepreneur is a problem solver?
100%. Yeah, 100%. If my perspective is that if you don't have that attitude and that perspective when you wake up every single day, then life has a tendency to get the better of us. If we're not getting the better of it.
The hamster wheel.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you identify and clearly identify the problem and understand all of its influences? And then start working on how to modulate those and modify those in a way that you can steer the problem. Because really a problem is, again, only a matter of perspective. For some person it's a problem, for the next person it's a solution. And if you can marry those two together and you have collaboration, well, now you have a win-win. And as soon as you start thinking in those terms, who can I engage in this problem, who would have something to benefit from this? Well, now you have two equal minds and two great minds, hopefully working on a problem together from two sides. Compound that, and you'll find a win-win-win. And now you're destined for success.
To bring this full circle and to talk back again about the island of Thunder Bay, what I love, what I'm hearing you saying again, is that yes, we are isolated, but because of social media and the internet, these minds can come in together in a community now like Thunder Bay, and we're seeing it happen all the time with local businesses, local brands here now happening in the food space, especially. There's a lot of innovation. And when we come back for the second segment, we're going to talk a little bit about a business that you have started out that is super, super innovative, that's happening around the world, and it's also now happening here in Thunder Bay. So there you have it, guys. Tons of nuggets, massive note taking. Write this down. This guy is on fire. This is going to be good. We got 2 more segments. We'll be right back with Scott McNab, the innovator, Scott McNab. All right. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. As our regular viewers know, the best stuff happens off camera. Scott just kind of looked at me and I congratulated him. I said, man, that was a great first segment. So many nuggets, really, really powerful. Lots of tangibles. We need tangibles in terms of mentorship. We want tangible bullet points, lots of bullet points. And I said, great job. He looked at me and he goes, hard earned. Tell me about hard earned. What is that? Tell us what that means. I think I know.
Anybody who has cut their teeth in business
Yeah.
has learned a lot of very hard lessons.
Yeah.
At one time in life, I thought it'd be great to go and get an MBA.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, that's a lot of money and it's great credentials, and
Yeah.
in a certain world, that'll take you places,
Yeah.
but it won't take you further than you're willing to let it take you, or you're willing to push it.
Yeah.
And hard earned is hard gains, is hard numbers, is sweat.
Yeah.
And in my experience, there has been zero gain without sweat.
Yeah.
So I like to think of myself as being successful in my own entity here now in this small island of ours.
Yeah.
But it's not without work and sweat equity.
Yeah.
Sweat equity is day to day, is getting up and doing the same thing. Even though it has not worked for you or in your favor the last 6 times,
Yeah.
you're actually wiser, and you're 6 times wiser, compounded,
Yeah.
every single time you get it wrong.
Yeah.
You're that much closer to getting it right.
That's
so
right.
it's perseverance and it's fortitude to
Right.
get to the end.
Yes. You're articulating something much better than how I will now say it, which is throw it against the wall enough times.
Yeah. First you got to build the wall.
You got to build the wall. Have something to throw at it.
That's right. Yeah.
And a lot of that just is courage as well. It's just having the courage to face the fear of failure. And is failure part of hard earned, as you put it?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you can't accept the fact that you are going to fail,
Yeah.
and you have failed, and you will
Yeah.
fail again,
Uh-huh.
then I think your perspective it would be very narrow.
Yeah.
So the idea is to open up your perspective and see the whole landscape for what it is,
Yeah.
and see the sunrise and the sunset.
Yeah.
You never want to let the sun set on your day without being able to reflect and look back and what you learned. And where you need to learn more. So it's introspection, and it's understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are. Leverage your strengths, support your weaknesses, bring people on your team
Love it.
in around your weaknesses where your blind spots are,
Yeah.
because we're all human.
Yeah.
We all have blind spots.
Yeah.
To be able to have somebody on your team who's complementary to your weakness or your, then you again have the win-win model, and you start to spin faster, hopefully not too fast. But you start to you can spin faster. My friends always used to say, how do you manage all of these different things at the same time?
Yeah.
And it's like a professional plate spinner,
Yeah.
right? Well, a plate spinner is only as good as his first plate.
Right.
So if you take the time to build a structure and build a system that you can spin a plate on, that you can put your hard work into getting it perfect, then you can move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing using the same model and the same principles.
Right.
Once you got your principles figured out, the rest will lay out in front of you. Again, very difficult to kind of articulate how to do that, but no job is too big or too small.
Right.
And when you own your own business, you're everything. You're the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega of every single day.
The buck stops
With you.
with you.
Yeah.
That's it. Now you talk about plate spinning. You have a plate in the air. It's not your first plate right now, but you have a plate spinning downtown. You've contributed to the downtown core. I believe the downtown of any community is the heartbeat and the pulse of that community in so many different ways. I've lived in Toronto most of my adult life and some of my childhood, and I've respected the downtown core. You've contributed to, I respect you because you've contributed to our downtown core, I think, and that's one of the things that really drove me to ask you onto the show. Your recent business, a plate that you have in the air, the Vault, a hybrid co-work space. Wow. Big city, progressive, economically responsible. I'll use the S word that's thrown around in business all the time that really has no meaning. It has meaning here, sustainable. Good job.
Thank you.
I mean, this is cool for Thunder Bay.
I think so. I think so too.
I think it's big city. I use a space very similar to this in Winnipeg all the time for my Winnipeg office, and it is bumping.
Thank you.
So you took the old TD Bank
Yep.
and you turned it into a co-work space.
Yeah.
Of
Essentially.
sorts.
Yeah.
Hybrid.
That's right. Yeah.
Where did this idea come from?
Honestly, I think it stemmed. I have 2 small children, and we have an old character home that's about a kilometer from downtown. So I live in the downtown area.
Yeah, amazing.
And I have a significant financial investment in property and other businesses downtown. So
Okay.
I have skin in the game.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
see the downtown thrive and succeed.
Yeah.
Certainly not, diminish away. So as I'm working away at home, my kids are getting older. There's piano lessons in the background and a toddler running through. And I'm trying to have a business, conversation on the phone, which is out on the porch and it's -40 and this isn't working. Kids got jelly on my keyboard when I'm trying to, it was just consistent. You'd lose paper. Where's the paper? It's somebody's, artwork on the wall. There's your last invoice statement.
Right.
So you pull it all together and you're like, how do I do something different that Thunder Bay needs? So you look at the landscape, and we figured that really there's this kind of, there's entry level and then there's top end, but there wasn't really a lot in the middle that was affordable for business working professionals. Yeah. How do you get entry level without, you want more from your next business meeting than a double at Tim Hortons, right? You can't have that. You can't have that environment and atmosphere you need in business to be progressive. Yeah. Right. And you ought to manage optics. Yeah. So that's where it came from. I looked around for quite some time, looked at some potential spaces. The downtown core has its challenges, which we're overcoming. And for every piece of positive energy that moves in, there's actually a piece of negative energy that has to move out. Sure. Yeah. It's the balance of it.
Yeah. There's only so much space in the box.
That's right. There's only so many streets and so much real estate. They're not making any more of it. So run with it. And we did. So we took a 13,000 square foot space and we turned it into a multi-use space. So there's residential on the top floor. There's we clear spanned the main floor, created this really cool interactive space that stimulates the mind and stimulates the senses when you come into it. We've got a 15-foot LED wall that plays scenes and video from all over the world continuously. So you can sit and have a coffee and kind of drone over the Great Wall of China. Right? No offices, in my experience, have ever been able to stimulate that part of me. And it's always different. And we can control that a little bit. So it's an alive piece.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the alive piece is amazing, and again, contributing back to the idea of contributing to a community, and the heartbeat and the pulse. Without a heartbeat, you don't have life, and driving people into the community in downtown. I know Thunder Bay is there's Thunder Bay, there's Port Arthur, and there's Fort William, and I think we still have some divisiveness with that. But I think for generally, people have adopted Port Arthur as our downtown. Is that fair?
I think it's perspective again.
Are you going to get in trouble if you?
I think if you resided
a hard question
in the south side, which is now how I refer to it as, north side, south side, and inner city.
I got a north side, south side.
That's a neutral. You can't go wrong with saying that, right? And I live on the north side of town.
North side.
I like Toronto in the sense of community that all of the different communities lend to the fabric and the weave of the city. Yeah. And I use that as an example because I'm familiar with it. But every 10 or 12 blocks, there's a new community. Yeah. There's new restaurants, there's new culture, there's new religion, and it's they congregate over time to being in certain neighborhoods because that's what you like. You grow towards what you like. And I think Thunder Bay shouldn't lose its identity. Yeah. There was two cities that became one, but now you're part of a community. Yeah. And there's a north side community and a south side community.
North side and a south side. Yeah. All right, we're going to throw to commercial really quick right now. We're going to dive back into the vault, into this business a little bit more. And I'd like to talk a little bit about sustainability and how this model is economically sustainable, because as I mentioned, the S word in business is thrown around. We're going to be right back with Scott McNab. Massive note-taking day, guys. This is real. I mean, we got some real tangibles here. So you would be entrepreneurs, and I will ask him the big question at the very end. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ask an Innovator. Here we go. We got 8 minutes. We're going to dive. We got major nuggets coming your guys' way. Disruption. Disruption in life and disruption in business are two different things. Disruption in business is creating a new normal. Scott created a new normal. The new normal is a different perspective on work. There is so much disruption happening. Automation. In the last 100 years, 90% of jobs have been automated out. Defined pensions really don't exist anymore, barely in a few public sectors they do, government sectors they do. Contributing pensions barely exist in corporations anymore. People are being forced through automation and technology to diversify and disrupt the way they used to think. Signing a lease is an old way of thinking. Yeah. if I do business or operate a business out of a space like yours, and these spaces exist all over the world now, I don't have to sign a lease. I can come in, I can sign a short-term lease, I can sign a day-to-day lease, I guess, so to speak. I can do a contract for an hour, I can do a contract for a month. Totally flexible.
Absolutely.
Is this disruptive in business? Is your way of thinking the new normal?
Is my way of thinking the new normal? That's a frightening concept.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if my normal and me don't usually go hand in hand.
But you're an entrepreneur, so
You got to think outside the box.
right. Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Trump. Did I say that?
I don't know. Hardly. I just work really hard. That's how I started.
Yeah.
It is disruptive. It is disruptive because it's not the norm.
Yeah.
And when you do something or you propose an idea or a conversation or a model of something that is outside of people's normal perspective or normal exposure, you get different reactions to it.
Yeah.
Some who are, perhaps open-minded to ideas and they can see benefits. They can see, you can step back and kind of see the satellite view of this.
Yeah.
Then you have an entirely different appreciation for what's in front of you. There are others who are, it's still different, it's still new, and there's always resistance to change by certain sections of society.
Yeah.
So it's where you lay in that perspective. Right? The Vault, I would say, is pretty different. It's very, very modern in its thinking. And it's coming back to a piece I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I said I had wanted to pursue an MBA, right?
Right.
And really an MBA is a generalist degree. So
Sure.
you learn a little bit about everything,
Yeah.
which is what I felt I needed at the time. As you push yourself through business, or you're pushed through business, or you're kicked in the butt through business, you have the ability to learn all of those facets by your exposure and time. It's going to cost you the same amount of money, probably even more in small business, because you have to learn, you have to cut your teeth on all of these things, but you're learning all the sections of business, whether it's accounting, legal, construction, real estate. They're all represented, really, in a place like the Vault, where you can collaborate much more quickly and you can accelerate the speed of business because you have the relationship.
Yeah.
So tech is good, social media is good, but it's very much a face piece.
Right.
What you still need, it's core to all success businesses, is relationships.
That's it.
And the speed of business.
Yeah.
If you're trying to meet with two professionals in two different ends of the city at the same time, or you're trying to get information back and forth, it's cumbersome. It slows business down.
Yeah.
Put those two professionals in the same room, and now you've got two minds working against each other to collaborate and accelerate.
Yeah. So I love this. I'm huge into disruption. I'm a serial entrepreneur like you. I always identify with disruption. I identify with a new normal. If you were to ask me today where I see the next wave of disruption, well, it's not technology. Technology is the new normal. Amazon, Google, Alphabet, these are the world's largest companies. They're $3 trillion. They're an eighth of the entire US market cap. Tech is the new normal. It is not disruptive. So what's disruptive? Models like this and the Vault say where it's bringing, or co-work spaces in general, where it's bringing human beings together. I would go as far as saying humanization is disruptive. The reconnecting of humans doing this, shaking hands, hugging, sharing an opinion, asking for help, being vulnerable.
Yeah. It's the days of the water cooler in an office.
Yeah.
Right? Before offices thought they could disseminate everybody and take the coal away from the fire and move it out to your home office.
Yeah.
That coal eventually, if it doesn't spend enough time in the fire, is going to burn out.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not stimulating growth. It's not problem solving on its own. It's around the water cooler concept that things were created.
Yeah.
And I'm not a smoker myself. I believe in good health and fitness. But Harvard has done studies on smokers who go outside are far more effective at collaborating and getting stuff done because they're problem solving while they're talking.
That's it.
So if you can take the same idea and put it into the gym that's in the basement, then two guys come together, two people are coming together and they have a workout at the same time over their lunch break. And it balances out your day. You drop the stress, you leave it behind, and you're kind of working with each other to explore new areas. And conversation is cheap, but time is time. And it's hard to find professionals who have time to lend expertise or to lend a conversation. And really that's the concept behind, you don't need everybody under one employee, but you do need them all present. That's the speed of business. How to accelerate it and still use tech to augment it, to support it, but you really got to support the core, which is always key relationships.
Man, this is some good stuff right here. All right, let's dive into the big question. Give you a few minutes to answer it, because I know you're going to have some amazing thoughts on it. The would-be entrepreneur, and we got about 2 minutes to ask you a lifetime worth of thoughts. The would-be entrepreneur sitting on their couch, they got a great idea, they hate their job, they don't like their boss, and they go, God, I wish I could work on my own. What advice, what encouragement, what 1.5 minutes what can you say to them to get them off the couch and to get out there and change the world?
Well, that's a big question, Paul. Let me think here.
Yeah.
Well, on principles.
Yeah.
You
principles.
have to be you have to have the personality, you have to have the inset of being stubborn, persistent.
Yeah.
Fortitude and perseverance are key character pieces. There's nothing easy about becoming an entrepreneur. It's all work.
Yeah.
From the minute you start, the minute you get off that couch and run,
Yeah.
you're going to hit the ground running, and you better be able to run faster and harder than anybody else, because that's what it takes to really get to the end. I was 20 years in an institutionalized workplace environment. I wished I had left 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
And if that in itself, we made good money, had good quality of life. However, there is no quality of life that could even match or compare the reward of being able to walk in your own shoes, right? You sharpen your own steel,
Yeah.
and you cut and cut every day.
Yeah.
You cut the trim, you cut the fat, and you carve out your space in the world, and then you steer it. It's your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You get to drive it where you want
Right.
to go. And if you're creative and you're ambitious, then that is definitely options for you.
Man, that was a minute of gold right there. Scott McNab, everybody. We need entrepreneurs, guys. Entrepreneurship right now, there are fewer jobs, there are fewer opportunities in terms of, say, working for government, working in social private sectors right now. 9 to 5 salaries, pensions are gone. You got to get out there and entrepreneur. There's a time and a need. We live in an era right now where mentors like Scott, they're available. Find him. Look at your community for mentorship. Mentorship is so important. Get out there, guys. Innovate. Scott, that was amazing, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you. One of the best guests ever. Ask an Innovator. Thank you.